Hello, everyone, and welcome to EH for Enthusiasts. Here's what's coming up.
Challenges for London cab drivers amid subsidy changes. We look at the black cab industry as its crossroads and the government plans to discontinue the £6,000 plug-in taxi grants, a financial incentive that has helped drivers transition from hybrid and electric taxis. Also on the show.
Ahead. Road closed. A breaker. A motorbike flying over a car. This is one of these LTN nonsense things. I have to. He's passed me out.
Controversy over low-traffic neighbourhoods in South London. We look at the unfairness as it benefits the wealthier people in this community and what other people have had to make of it, as some people have labelled it as disgraceful. Then, disruptive transport protest planned by environmental activists. We'll see a group of youth demands planning a protest in April 2025, which is highlighting the government's perceived inactions on climate change and the demand for stronger measures to reduce carbon emissions in the transport sector. And finally, the never-ending transport nightmare. Hammersmith Bridge saga, as it shut down in 2019 due to structural damage, was initially priced at £40 million for repairs. However, as of 2025, we've seen it skyrocket to £250 million. Despite this, the Hammersmith and Fulham Council have pleaded to the government about the extensive delays as pedestrians and cyclists, meaning a partial opening, but the lack of vehicle access has severely impacting local businesses. We discuss how it's been labelled an embarrassment by transport experts and get their views on this situation.
Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm EH for Enthusiast in London. Tonight, we look at the challenges which are being faced by London cab drivers amidst subsidy changes. London's black cab industry is at a crossroads as the government plans to discontinue the £6,000 plug-in taxi grant, a financial incentive that has helped drivers transition to hybrid and electric taxis. The grant, which was introduced to encourage the use of low-emission vehicles, has played a crucial role in reducing the carbon footprint of the capital's transport sector. However, with its removal scheduled for spring 2025, many taxi drivers are now concerned about the affordability of new vehicles, which can cost upwards of £70,000. The manufacturer of London's taxis, TX, has been vocal in its criticism, warning that without government support, many drivers will be unable to upgrade their vehicles. The company has urged the policymakers to restore the grant to its previous level of £7,500, arguing that this financial relief is essential to ensuring the long-term sustainability of the industry. Critics argue that while the transition to electric vehicles is necessary, it places a significant financial burden on taxi drivers, many of whom are still recovering from the economic downturn caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. The removal of the grant could lead to a slowdown in the adoption of green taxis, potentially undermining London's broader environmental targets. However, on the other hand, policymakers maintain that the taxi industry has sufficient time to transition and that the funds need to be redirected to other sustainability initiatives. As this debate unfolds, London's cabbies are left in a difficult position, forced to choose between absorbing the high cost of new vehicles or continuing to use their existing fleet, which may soon fall out of the compliance with strict ultra-low emission zone regulations. This situation raises broader questions about how the government's should support the industry as they move towards a net zero emission, balancing financial feasibility with environmental urgency. Next, we turn our attention to the controversy over the low traffic neighbourhoods, also known as LTNs, in South London. The introduction of the low traffic neighbourhoods in London has been one of the most polarising transport policies in recent years, and the latest controversy in West Dulwich highlights the tensions surrounding these schemes. LTNs are designed to reduce vehicle congestion and pollution by restricting car access to certain streets, prioritizing cyclists and pedestrians instead. While these schemes have been praised for improving air quality and making roads safer for non motorists, they have also sparked fierce backlash from local residents and businesses in West Dulwich, a middle class area of South London. Lambeth Council recently introduced an LTN that has blocked off several roads, leading to claims that traffic has been simply displaced rather than reduced. Critics argue that these restrictions push more vehicles onto surrounding roads, worsening congestion and pollution in adjacent working class neighborhoods. Public meetings about the scheme have been heated, with some residents claiming that the LTNs are unfairly benefits wealthier communities while leaving the others to bear the brunt of increased traffic. Local businesses have also voiced their concerns, arguing that the roads restrictions make it harder for customers to access their shops, leading to reduced food hall and revenue losses. Despite all of this, the Lambeth Council remains committed to this scheme, citing that data suggests that a reduction in overall traffic levels and improvements in local air quality, however, as similar debates unfold across other London boroughs. It is becoming increasingly clear that LTNs are not one size fits all solutions. Controversy in West Dulwich also highlights that the broader challenge of balancing environmental goals with the realities of urban mobility, and the debate continues. Policymakers will need to find ways to address public concerns while ensuring that the green transport initiatives remain effective and equitable. Now we turn to the disruptive transport protests which are being planned by environmental activists. Environmental activism in London is set to make the centre stage again this year as climate groups Youth Demand has announced plans for serious protests aimed at disruption of the capital's network. The protests, which are scheduled to take place in April 2025, are intended to highlight the government's perceived inactions of climate change and demands for stronger measures to reduce carbon emissions in the transport sector. The youth demand has also not yet disclosed specific locations for the demonstrations, but past actions suggest that the key transport hubs, such as major roads, train stations, and underground lines, could be targeted. The group has stated that their protests will include road blockades, sit-ins, and other forms of non-violent direct action. Tactics have been both effective and controversial in demonstrations by the climate activists. The Metropolitan Police have acknowledged the planned protest, enhancing the while the right to protest is protected under the UK law, any activities that cause significant public disruption could lead to arrest and legal consequences. The announcement has sparked a mixed reaction from the public, while some Londoners have been supporting the activists, uh, messaging questions about their methods. Climate protests have led to major traffic jams, commuter frustration, and economic losses, raising ethical debates about whether disruptive action is the most effective way to push for environmental policy changes. Meanwhile, the government officials have reaffirmed that their commitment to sustainability initiatives, arguing that London's transport system is already undergoing a green transformation. So, through the projects such as expanding cycling infrastructures, the electrification of buses, and investments in renewable energy, whether the planned process will result in meaningful policy shifts remains to be seen. But one thing is certain, that London's transport system will once again be at the heart of this ongoing climate battle. Finally, tonight we turn to the never ending transport nightmare, which is Hammersmith Bridge. The saga of Hammersmith Bridge continues, with the commuters and local residents growing increasingly frustrated over the prolonged closure and stalled repair efforts. The bridge, which was shut down in 2019 due to structural damage, remains inaccessible to vehicles, forcing thousands of Londoners to take lengthy detours. Originally, the estimated cost of the repairs was around £40 million. But as the project faced delays and political disagreements over funding, costs have now skyrocketed to £250 million. This dispute over who should foot the bill, and Hammersmith and Fulham Council, Transport for London, or the UK government, has caused extensive delays, leaving the bridge in a state of limbo. For pedestrians and cyclists, the bridge remains partly open, but the lack of vehicle access has severely impacted the local businesses, increased congestion on alternative routes, and frustrated daily commuters. The situation has been described as an embarrassment by the transport experts, given that the Hammersmith Bridge is one of the most historically significant crossings in the city. In the recent months, local MPs and businesses leaders have intensified their calls for urgent government intervention, arguing that the further delays are unacceptable. Meanwhile, residents on both sides of the Thames are losing patience, with many questioning whether the bridge will ever fully reopen. With no definitive timeline for the completion, the Hammersmith Bridge is fiasco serves as the cautionary tale about how the consequences of inadequate infrastructure planning and political deadlock as one of London's busiest river crossings. Its continued closure underscores the urgent need for better long-term investment in transport infrastructure to prevent similar crises in the future. And that's it for now. If you ever miss our show, you can always find the latest episode shortly after it airs on our podcast. And remember, you can always catch us online on our website and all over social media. Thank you for watching, and goodbye from London.